Emily.
Hi, my name is Emily Weiss. I'm a senior here at CO High School, and I'm in the FLEX program. And for my senior research paper and big board, I focused on the question of, or the topic of divorce, especially on children, and how it impacts them immediately, but more importantly in the future, and how it does leave a long-term effect on them. I want to begin by opening up with a video clip for you guys to watch. Literally just worked, so this rocks.
Do you want me to click it? Because I don't know if it works with the click the thing.
It just did though. Like it just did.
I can click it for you.
Will you?
Yeah.
I'll just like give you the signal. Oh wait, will you turn it up also?
I'm hurting too. I feel and feed on your tension, fear, and shock. Although I am young and cannot express verbally what is happening in our lives, I'm still feeling the impact. My heart is broken every time I have to give up a parent. My sense of security is lost. Please don't assume that I am resilient. Please don't assume that my life will be exactly as it was, and that I will continue to feel the same love from both of you. I'm a human being just like you. My needs are just like yours. I need love, attention, nurturing, stability, consistency, affection, understanding, patience, and mostly to be wanted. When you fight it for me or put me in the middle of your argument, you are sending me the message that winning with each other is more important than my life. I am learning from you that it is better to be right than to be loved. You are teaching me that I came from a person who is unlovable and wrong, and that I am somehow wrong too. When you confide your hurt in my heart, you are storing up adult pain and robbing me of my childhood. You are taking away my belief that love is unconditional and replacing it with a message that tells me to become hard and not to love because I will get hurt and not be able to recover. You may not understand this today, and I am so small that you are not thinking about my future, but you are putting me at a greater risk of getting a divorce myself. At times you are risking my safety to fill a void in your heart. My safety is your job. Without you and your protection, I am unshielded from the world. This will manifest in irrational fears for me, because I will stay in a state of fight or flight for most of my life. Someday, this initial shock will wear off, but how you choose to parent me through this crisis will never wear off. I will either feel your sense of selflessness, support, protection, or I will have a scar on my heart with a message that reads,
Okay.
good things happen to good people.
I have to go though.
It must be bad.
But I'll...
Thoughtfully, the child of divorce.
Okay. Will you click the next slide?
Have to do anything to get out of this?
No, just click it. Of course. Oh, of course, my life rocks.
Hopefully.
Why? It literally works every time.
Okay, so then
Yeah, I'm just presenting. Okay. Technical difficulties. My thesis that I'm going to be focusing on throughout this whole presentation is that although a good number of people in society are deluded in thinking that divorce only places short-term effects on children, the impact that it leaves is much more long-term for various reasons.
am I going?
Yeah,
Sorry.
So what I'm going to focus on today is what changes a child's reaction to divorce, the immediate effects of divorce, how it impacts a relationship, how it changes their future, the opposing argument, and then my service learning project. So I'd like for you all to just really quickly go to this link right below here and take my short 6-second survey. If you are uncomfortable with any of the questions, there are options that you do not have to fill it out. But I just want to get a general consensus with this survey. If the statistics in the room, how similar they are to the statistics of America and the statistics of Michigan, and I just kind of want to get those similarities just so I know. So the link is https://www.surveymonkey.com, surveymonkey.com S slash capital N, capital S, capital L, capital L, capital W 9. Does anyone need me to repeat that for them?
I don't think I got that all the way actually.
Okay, I'll repeat it one more time. https://www.surveymonkey.com/S/ capitals for the rest NSLLWW9. Did everyone get that this time?
Thank you very much. I did.
Okay, no problem. So just take a minute for this survey. Don't rush through it. I'll give you some time for it. Sweet, 6 minutes in.
Nice.
It's gonna make you so mad if you watch this.
Mine is, wow.
Sorry guys, I just tried to bring light upon my stressful situation. Okay, that should be good. All right, did everybody finish this survey? Okay, great. So to start, I'm going to start with the child's reactions and how these are usually inevitable reactions, inevitable factors to their reactions, something that no matter what the parent does or tries to do, they can't change it at all. And there are the three main ones are age, gender, and mental disorders. Age is the idea that younger children are going to have a much harder time with the divorce because they're going to be extremely confused in the process. Whether they're extreme infants, they're going to feed off this negative energy and it's going to impact their behavior. Or if they're toddlers, they're going to be confused why they sometimes see their dad, don't see their dad, only see their mom, don't see their mom. Things like that. It's going to be extremely confusing for them and they won't fully grasp the process. Therefore, that's going to change the way that they react to the divorce itself because by understanding the process, you're more likely to be able to cope with it, but without understanding, they could blame themselves for it, and there could be many other psychological problems that could result from this. Older children, on the other hand, have a more difficult time coping with it because they do understand the issues, and they do understand how severe this decision is, and they understand what, not fully, but they understand the majority of what their new life is about to look like and the stress and pressure that's going to be on them therefore. Along with that, gender is another another factor that changes children's reaction to divorce. Placing all stereotypes aside, boys during divorce tend to lash out more. And they take their anger and their aggressiveness and they release it through a form of, they act out. Whether that's in school, whether that's toward their friends, whether that's toward their parents, all depends on the kid, but they do act out and they often reveal their emotion. While girls, on the other hand, keep it inside more and they become more introverted and they don't exactly share how they're feeling. And this can lead to a slew of mental disorders, including depression. Along with that, mental disorders greatly changes the way that a child will react to divorce because 80% of teens in mental hospitals and 60% of children in psychiatric centers are products of divorce. So that means only 20% of teenagers in psychiatric hospitals have a stable, or not even a stable, but a married family home. Not even a married home. Never mind. So therefore, divorce greatly changes your mentality, the way that you think about things, your psychological mindset. There we go. Okay, so next there's the immediate effects. The first thing is showing here on this graph that immediately the average income rate per family almost goes to half, almost decreases by half. It shows here that before divorce, so it's around $43,000 per family. That's the average annual income. And after divorce, it immediately becomes $25,000. This is a huge difference, and it can impact so many lives and the difference between the different lifestyles that children will have to start leading can be extremely overwhelming. Along with that, the oldest child is often forced to be responsible to act as the lost parent. In many cases, the father, more likely than the mother, gets up and leaves the family, and this will, or not even leaves, but the mother or father can usually usually depend on the oldest child to act as their spouse or their helper around the house. So this could be like helping out with their siblings, helping out with dinner, helping out with driving, depending on the age. And this places way too much emotional and physical expectations on the oldest child that they often feel inadequate because they can never live up to the expectations that are placed on them by their parents. Along with that, there's diminishing relationships. Parenting time, no matter what the custody is, drastically changes because while kids used to see both of their parents every single day, they might now only see one of them 4 days a week and one of them 3 days a week, or however the custody goes. And this can extremely diminish the relationship that they establish because they won't see them as often. Along with that, in too many cases, the father is gone, and this can lead to a slew of psychological issues. So the absent father role completely diminishes that whole relationship that would have been there if they did not get a divorce. Along with that, coping. And coping is an immediate effect, but it's also different with each, depending on the age of a child. As I told you before, younger children are often confused, and this confusion can lead to frustration and then anger, and that might be their coping mechanism with it. While older children will have a period of reflection time. More often, they'll understand what's going on, and they'll try to find the best way for them to move forward while still dealing with the circumstance. There's a few things that parents or teachers or friends can try and do to minimize these immediate effects, and the two main ones are communication and how much conflict the parent shows to their kids. Communication is extremely vital through this whole process. By letting your child know that it's not their fault and that they are welcome for all opinions that they have, and that if they do need to talk to someone and aren't comfortable talking to the parent, that they can talk to a counselor or a teacher or a friend or whoever they feel comfortable with, but let them know that how they feel is important to each parent. Oh God, I'm going way too personal. Conflict shown to kids also is important because the more conflict that you show between the kids, the more confusion and the more frustration and anger the kids will have. So if you minimize the conflict that you show towards the kids, it can help alleviate some of those symptoms. Lastly, the psychological issues. Obesity is 54% more likely to become overweight or obese just in children by the process of being divorced. So these are extreme psychological issues, and whether that's because of the economic background that they will then have after divorce or because of the stress or whatever the situation may be, the fact that they're 54% more likely to be overweight or obese just by their parents being divorced shows that it is a very big psychological issue. Along with that, sickness is much more common in children of divorced parents, and not only do they get sick more frequently, but it often takes a much longer time for them to recover from the sickness. And this is because stress lowers the immune system, so children of divorce feel stress in many different areas that most children in intact families would not feel. So this high stress levels can lead to a lower immune system and a harder time recovering from sicknesses. Moving on. Okay. Relationships are also extremely different after divorce. To begin, I'd like to show you this picture that shows that 90% of runaway and homeless youth, 71% of high school dropouts, and 63% of youth suicides all had an absent father. And this is a father who either was not an important part of their life or they just grew up without him. And this just shows exactly how important the father role is, and often parents or kids are left without their father because of the divorce specifically. But along with that, there can be less attachment to parents, as I said, in the immediate effects, and also how the parents talk about one another to their kids can affect the relationship that they have. And while most parents think that by talking negatively about their ex-spouse to their children, that'll make the children like them more, it actually makes the children become more distant to them because they don't trust their parent and they feel that their parent is bashing technically half of them because they are from both their mother and father. Surprisingly.
My brother had the same issue when he was younger, because my grandparents, were, kind of a bit racist, and he, freaked out, because he was like, oh my god, that's half of me.
Yeah. Nice. Wonderful.
No.
You can raise your hand and say that at the end.
Hey.
Oh, no,
Go
I'm
on.
not done.
I'm so sorry.
It's okay. Kids of divorce often establish trust issues, whether that be with marriage or friendships or with their parents or even within a stranger that they've never met. This is because they find that in an extremely loving relationship or what they thought was a loving relationship, they can see exactly how ruined it can be. So they often just don't open up to people and don't become vulnerable because if they aren't vulnerable, then they can never be broken down. Along with that, friendships that have been previously established or that are established in the future after the divorce are called into question, and with the trust issues, the kids won't be as likely to open up and be vulnerable, which is a very important part to a good friendship, so they'll have a much harder time finding those true friends. Next. Thank you. Okay, so my whole main idea is that children of divorce are impacted much greater than one would suspect. And this is a lot to do with the future of children, and this is often not talked about, but there's a new movie that just came out. I'm totally not going to say this in the thing. I have 16 minutes. I better hurry. Okay, so the future of children of divorced parents. To begin, there's a low economic status, as we saw in the first slide, whatever. Income drops dramatically, and that can actually bring people from a middle class to a low class to the poverty level. And if that's the case, there's often a cycle of poverty where once you're in it, it's really hard to get out. So that can actually bring children in poverty and keep them there for the rest of their life. Along with that, most kids of divorce are either afraid of marriage and they won't get married because they don't think it's worth it. They don't find value in it. They see exactly the opposite side of a good marriage and they just see the negative aspects of it. Or they do get married and they have a much higher chance of being divorced because they don't have those role models in their life to show them what a good marriage looks like. Along with that, kids of divorce are shown to have much higher stress level and they actually have a much harder time in the academic standpoint. This is due, I don't really remember, this is due to blah, 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 blah. But also, there were studies shown that children, once they've grown up, they're in law school or they're in grad school or they even have a job or they have their own kids, often still do not forgive their parents for getting a divorce. So the idea that children will just move on and move forward once the dust settles is completely false because there were studies shown that they still hold grudges, you could say, 15, 20 years after the divorce itself. Along with that, big events is an extreme issue with children of divorce. Whether it's a graduation, a wedding, or even this big board here today, children of divorce usually are supposed to be celebrating these big events or being excited. It's supposed to be a celebration of them and themselves. In this situation, a celebration of what I've done this year and learning, but all you can think about in the morning is, well, my mom and my dad are both going to be in the same room. Is that going to work? Is it going to be awkward? Are they going to embarrass me? Are they going to embarrass each other? And that's the only thing that you think about while you're supposed to be celebrating this big event. So these issues all impact them in the future. And I actually have a clip from ACOD. It's Adult Children of Divorce. It's a recent movie about this situation. Okay, click right here.
Hi guys, it's Vanessa here with today's video and all the latest news from Hollywood. The Chronicles of Narnia, the Silver Chair movie in development.
I clicked
They
it.
always made a mess of everything.
It's so quiet. I don't know how to change
I remember the funeral incident, and I maintained the funeral needed to be about the person's death.
And you know, I got smart over the years. I started coming up with ways to avoid situations like this. You know, like in Thanksgiving, who am I going to spend Thanksgiving with? Well, they think I'm in Honduras building schools with the U.S. CARES program, but little did they know the U.S. CARES program doesn't exist. So,
Sounds right.
yeah, I've got it figured out. But I don't know, this wedding, it's risky. I guess I'm just looking for some advice. I don't know, someone to talk to super quick to figure out how to survive the next few months.
Okay, can you click it again? Sorry. Okay, so the opposing argument of everything that I've been talking about today is that there's three main arguments. Normality with time can lead to better things, and the divorce is better than the fighting, the constant bickering. And for normality, I've shown you throughout this presentation that there is no normality with time. They might be able to deal with it and to move on and to be able to live their life with the situation, but they will never go back to their life how it was before divorce. Can lead to better things. I'm not sure what better things divorce for children could lead to, unless it's an abusive relationship, which is not the most common of all divorces. And then better than the fighting. I understand that viewpoint that getting a divorce is better than having the kids constantly around fighting, but divorce does not immediately mean, okay, you guys are separate now, there's no fighting, there's no more issues. It usually involves court for a very long time, custody battles, house battles, property battles, things along that, where the fighting actually increases, it doesn't decrease, because now they have to take everything that they own together and split it up. Along with that, they don't just vanish away from each other's lives. They do have children together in my cases that I'm studying, so the fighting doesn't go away because they have to still be around each other all the time. Okay, you can click next. So for my service learning project, I went to my stepmom, Judge Karen McDonald's court, and she works at the 48th District Circuit Court, and her court specializes in family law, so she sees a lot of divorce cases. And I worked with specifically with people who are filing PPO cases. And PPO cases are personal protection orders, and they are meant to, the majority of them are divorced parents, and they are meant to establish, I don't know, it's like a restraining order. And so I worked with them, I gave them a pamphlet of advice to use if they had kids, hotlines that they could see, websites that would help, things along that line to help them through this process of divorce. And I also spoke to them about their issues and tried to do my best as a high schooler with all my standing and education to help them become better. Thank you. Do you have any questions? Mine was 23.